Greetings, fellow detectives. Wizard Kitten here, bringing you a new Nancy Drew analysis video. Today's video is brought to you by the patrons over at Mystique Manor and by all the official Fellow Detective channel members. If you too would like to support the channel and gain access to exclusive features, check out patreon.com/wizardkitten to become a patron, or click join next to the subscribe button to become an official fellow detective. In honor of spooky season, I am bringing you another Nancy Drew analysis ranking video with a Halloween twist. Today we're ranking all of the cemeteries from the Nancy Drew series from worst to best, which may honestly be a little bit misleading because I don't really think there is a bad cemetery in the games, just some that I prefer more than others. And yes, I know this video is posting a day after Halloween, but we're close enough. So, let's discuss. There are understandably quite a few cemeteries in the Nancy Drew games, because this is a mystery series after all. Cemeteries and graveyards simply make sense as a location to explore in a mystery because of themes related to death, terror, hauntings, and history. Despite this, there are only 6 true cemeteries in the Nancy Drew series. I'm including all of the cemeteries that are either visible or explorable as part of the gameplay. A singular gravestone does not count as a cemetery, so my apologies to the best mule whatever lived, Charlie. Never kicked me or nothin'. I'm also not including burial grounds that do not have marked individual graves. For example, there are in fact bones in the catacombs of Danger by Design, but the remains and memories of specific people are not marked, nor do they have a direct relevance to the story of the game. So of the 6, what makes for a good cemetery as opposed to a fine or mediocre one? There are a couple of key components: interaction, atmosphere and vibe, and influence or direct connection to the story. First, interaction. The best game cemeteries are fully explorable and interactive. Detectives can go in them, view the tombstones or crypts, and preferably find clues or at least items of interest. Second, atmosphere and vibe. The best game cemeteries are teeming with spook, crawling with intrigue, overflowing with creep, and leave you feeling utterly unsettled. Finally, direct connection to the story. The best game cemeteries have meaning for the plot of the mystery and add a deep layer of context that enriches the story. So, without further ado, let's get ranking. Number 6, Secret of Shadow Ranch. Nestled in the back of the Dry Creek ghost town lies a long-forgotten cemetery, covered in dry weeds and teeming with mystery. If we were allowed to include the ghost town as part of the cemetery, then this one would rank so much higher because of the incredibly unsettling vibes of Dry Creek. But since the cemetery cannot be explored and can only be admired from a short distance, we must consider it a separate entity. As a result, this cemetery is creepy, and adds some excellent scenery that enhances the spookiness of the already terrifying ghost town, but that's about it. There's no interaction and no added benefit for the story, hence ranking at the bottom. Number 5, Midnight in Salem. Narrowly avoiding the very bottom spot on a ranking list, Midnight in Salem? Let me explain. While there are probably hundreds of things that I will complain about in Midnight in Salem, the cemetery is easily the most successful location, and is, to put it nicely, not half bad. I like the music that plays in the cemetery, and the burnt orange leaves shaking in the autumn breeze are an excellent touch. We can also walk around the entirety of the cemetery and view multiple tombstones and statues and the environmental details, including the wrought iron fence and dirt paths, which are nice. However, this cemetery loses points for basically the same reason that everything else in Midnight in Salem loses points. The connection to the story is weak at best. Yes, there are puzzles and secret passageways in the cemetery. Yes, there are tombstones marked with the names of historical characters that have been referenced in the game's story. But a mind-numbingly ridiculous cipher puzzle, an obnoxiously loud ghost hunting puzzle, and vague references to historical characters that really do not matter in the least for the ultimate mystery of the game just fall flat, to be perfectly honest. They detract from the visual charm of the cemetery and make it impossible for me to place this location any higher in the ranking. Number 4, Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon. When we finally arrive in Copper Gorge, Colorado, Nancy is able to explore Camille Voulet's crypt. While we do not get to explore the rest of the cemetery, and Camille's crypt is all that we get to see, the crypt alone is incredibly interactive. We are also treated to the spooktacular Crypt Keeper, whose fascination with crypt artistry and eerie allusions to corpses really sets the unsettling vibes. Exploring Camille's crypt feels deeply intimate and makes me feel so uneasy, primarily because of the Crypt Keeper's warnings. There are also important clues in the crypt that are directly required to advance the mystery, making it an incredibly important location for the story and the game. All in all, it could have used some more exploration, but what we did get was sublime. Number 3, Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake. When I tell you that little 11-year-old wizard kitten simply could not explore Mickey Malone's cemetery unless it was daytime and unless she had a blanket over her head for security, I am not exaggerating. The game does such a brilliant job of setting up the absolutely terrifying vibe of this cemetery. First of all, getting to the cemetery requires a labyrinthine stroll through the very woods that we know to be haunted by the ghost dogs, as evidenced by their eerie howls. Second, once we finally get to the cemetery, guess what you can find on Mickey Malone's resting place? Paw prints. Yeah, fresh paw prints from fresh ghost dogs. So super duper scary. This cemetery gets top marks for atmosphere and vibe and is critical to the story. Waldo Baldo can be found here, as well as the entrance to the speakeasy, the supposed burial ground of Mickey Malone himself and his 4 dogs, and important birth and death dates for each of the dearly departed Rottweilers. There are also multiple other gravestones to admire, namely those of several other sweet fur babies. This cemetery is absolutely fantastic, but ultimately it can't quite claim the top spot because it's a little small and overshadowed by 2 other impeccable cemeteries. Number 2, Legend of the Crystal Skull. This cemetery is absolutely sprawling and includes so much fantastic detail. The mere fact that this cemetery spans multiple burial grounds with such fantastic names as the Crowing Crypts, Writhing Roots, and Slumber Gardens makes it a top-tier cemetery. But we also have impeccable vibes. This is the only Nancy Drew game where it is raining the entire time, and this, combined with the sound of Nancy's shoes on the cobblestone paths, the ambient raindrops, the occasional thunder and lightning, and a swamp with a hungry gator, makes this cemetery incredibly creepy. It's also extremely interactive and crucial to the mystery. At one point, Nancy needs to peruse the logbook of buried denizens and track down their pun-tastic names to uncover some of Bruno Boulet's eyeballs and gather more clues about the whereabouts of the famed crystal skull. Being able to enter the Boulet family crypt is also hugely exciting. This cemetery does everything right, and in my mind, there is only one other in the series that can top it. Number 1, Ghost of Thornton Hall. Let's first talk atmosphere and vibe. This cemetery is easily the spookiest in the series, in my opinion. It's constantly mired in fog, and as we traipse around the dark, moody grounds, a statue of Charlotte turns its head to stare, a lonely fountain spouts a quiet stream, a harbinger of death turns its finger to point, and eventually Nancy's name mysteriously appears on one of the tombstones. It's absolutely terrifying, mysterious, ambient, perfect. It's also the most interactive cemetery we've discussed yet, because not only can Nancy view every single headstone and the family crypt, but every single headstone has a sad story narrated by the sultry tones of one Wade Thornton. Finally, the cemetery is intimately connected to the mystery of Jesselyn's disappearance. The tombstones hold clues to her phone password. Multiple headstones reveal important information for unlocking Charlotte's dusty bedroom, and important clues are hidden within the family crypt. Within the coffins, no less, and nestled amongst the bones of dearly departed Thorntons. Yee! Gives me shivers to even think of it. Ultimately, this cemetery wins for me because of how complete and detailed it feels and how much depth it adds to the Thornton family history. It is peak spooky vibes, and my favorite of the Nancy Drew cemeteries. But that's just me. I would love to hear your thoughts on what makes for a successful in-game cemetery and which ones are your favorites. Do you agree with my ranking? What other random elements from the Nancy Drew series should I rank? Let a Wizard Kitten know in the comment section down below. If you really enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button or tipping me for the video with a super thanks next to the download button right beneath the video. If you would like to come join a fantastic group of fellow detectives at Mystique Manor as a patron for the channel, gain access to exclusive content, and support the making of more content like this, please check out patreon.com/wizardkitten. I also have channel memberships with exclusive badges and emojis to use during streams and in the comment section. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming an official fellow detective, click join next to the subscribe button. Please feel free to follow the channel on Instagram or Discord, linked in the description box down below. And as always, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more Nancy Drew and Sims 4 content. Thank you so much for watching, fellow detectives. I will see you soon.